G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to take a look at the results from the EU Trio Cash Cup to finally gauge what are all the teams doing and how are they looking. Because if you somehow missed it, we got 100% confirmation that we do have Mongraal, Mitr0, Benjy, MMB, the legendary trio is back together and they're already performing really well. I also want to take a look at some other teams because Mr. Savage has already found himself an insane team and is also doing really well. Also, we had the NA East and NA West Cash Cups that I want to take a look at, because if you somehow missed it, the finish of the NA West Cash Cup was one of the most exciting I've seen in a very long time. You had Clix, Reet, and Wavy Jacob playing together in first place by a mile. The tournament was theirs. Nothing could stop them until Reet got hacked or something happened live on stream where he had his Fortnite account deactivated and they had to sit back and just watch and wait and pray that they still won the tournament. A lot of people are still confused about exactly what happened to Reet's account, so I've reached out to Reet, I've gone to the bottom of it, I want to cover it so there's no confusion and just talk about how crazy this all was. Before we jump into the video, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support on my YouTube right now. I know we did a big push for 100k subs by the end of last year, and right now the support has been unreal. If you guys are liking the content, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because things are going insane. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the video. In case you missed it, the other day I did make a video talking about how Benjy was confirmed to be splitting with Savage for trios, and everyone was asking what does this mean for the two players. I pretty much said that it was almost guaranteed that he would be going with Mongraal and Mitr0 because that is the legendary trio they've played with for a very long time. Back in Trio FNCS Season X, they absolutely dominated. I probably don't need to tell you how ridiculous they were. They each earned hundreds of thousands of dollars in those qualifying weeks, but they did split up and they haven't played together since. But Mongraal and Mitr0 were playing with Milan. Things didn't look too great. They seemed really demotivated. They weren't really talking on stream about who they were playing with, so it just made sense. Who is going to make Benjyfishy leave Savage other than Mongraal and Mitr0? But we did today get 100% confirmation they are playing together and playing really well. They ended up coming 5th place on 211 points in their first ever tournament in over a year, and they did it in really consistent fashion. Their first game, as you know they do best, they did W key, they got a 22 elimination win, but from then on things were pretty steady. They had a rough game 2, but then a 10 elimination 12th, they had a 4 elimination 21st, another 21 elimination win, a 2 elimination 23rd. So at the same time, most of their points came off really big, massive high point games, but they got them consistently enough to carry them through. They got 4 victory royales, where if you go back and you watch the replays, it's at the hands of aggressive height takes. You knew this is what this team's gonna do best. They aggressively push and take height, and once they have it, no one can take it off them, and that's their recipe for success. Now, I wouldn't go too much into this though. This is just Cash Cups, even though they were incredibly stacked. I mean, just look at this leaderboard for the top 10. These are some of the best players in EU back to back, and you might notice at the bottom a little cheeky feature from NA. We finally have NA showing up a little bit in EU's tournaments thanks to DGen, Ages, and Skittles. But this leaderboard is stacked. But even saying that, it's not set lobbies. This is still a Cash Cup at the end of the day. Even though some of these games were getting active surge, it wasn't the same caliber of an FNCS. And that's where people are excited for Mongraal, Mitr0, and Benjy, but there's still those questions. They are such a ridiculous team on paper. Their mechanics are insane. They're so confident, but do they have that player in the team that can really lead them when it comes to those set lobbies? We could still see it. Benjy has been really stepping up with his game sense recently, playing really intelligently. Clearly they know how to do it in Cash Cups, but are they going to be able to do it against the best of the best? I'm not saying they can't, but that's the question people still have. How well are they actually going to do when it comes to grand finals? Because as we know, back in Season X, that's where things became unstuck. They earned so much money in the qualifying weeks, but in the grand finals, that's where things went wrong. But again, I already know what you're thinking. There was Mex. They got griefed by Kiriachi, who ironically beat them in today's Cash Cup as well. But either way, however you stand on that position, if you missed it back in FNCS, the last couple of games, Kiriachi's team got Mex, rushed them at retail, and wiped them off spawn. I get that can't happen this FNCS, but it still reiterates the point. The team doesn't have a lot of experience in set lobbies, and that's where things come unstuck. But they still could do quite well. Now, they're not the only team I want to talk about though. Like I said, this leaderboard is stacked. We had Flick, Anas, and Thomas HD winning the whole tournament on 233 with only 7 games played. They were insanely dominant. They had an average placement of 5th in 7 games. They played so insanely well, which is honestly, in my opinion, cementing Thomas HD as one of the best players in the world right now. He is dominating not just in every single game mode, but every region as well. Him and Tayson in duos, if DreamHack comes back, are gonna absolutely pop off. Even in NA, I've got really, really high hopes for them in the finals coming up recently for EU in the next couple of days. He's dominating in solos and he's doing it in trios. So by far one of the best teams to look out for right now. Obviously, we have Snazy, Rob, and Blackie as well, looking really strong. I can't really talk too much about them in this one. Again, it was a Cash Cup. I looked at their games. They did have really, really good average elims. Their placement was decent as well, just outside of top 10. They managed to play all 10 of their games, and they were insanely close on the leaderboard to Refsguard, Endrettas, and Scram. Now, that is the team that I am picking to come top 3 in FNCS, almost guaranteed. I know they only came top 3 in this Cash Cup, but they have been consistently placing in everything. So far, Endrettas' start to the season has been 3rd in the first Cash Cup, 1st in the Razor Cup, 2nd in the Suja Cup, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that one, and then 4th in the Razor Cup again. They've played 4 tournaments and their worst placement so far is 4th. We of course had the other big team on the block that just formed. Aqua, CRR, and Wolfiez also performed. They came in 6th place, just behind MMB on 206 points. They did phenomenally well. They only got 1 victory royale, but they got quite a few second places. They ended up getting 3 second places. So they got a formula that's working. They're clearly going for high ground early like they thought they were going to. They're dominating, getting their eliminations. But if they got those extra victory royales, their points would have been a lot higher. So they are looking incredibly dominant, and I don't think 6th place really does them justice. They got a 43 elimination win in their first game. 43 eliminations. Compare that to MMB, who got 21, who are also known as God W Kiers. They almost doubled them. The other big team on the block with a lot of really high expectations on them was, of course, Mr. Savage finding his new team after splitting with Benji, with iDrop, who you know he's been playing with so much, his duo mate when he's not playing with Benji, and someone he has a lot of chemistry with, picking up none other than Tayson 2 times, the 2 times FNCS champion, the player that probably has the most expectations on him coming into Trio FNCS, looking like an insane team, but unfortunately in this first Cash Cup didn't really deliver up to that standard. They didn't do poorly. They came 35th and got 179 points. They had a phenomenal first game, a 35 elimination first, but from there things came a little bit unstuck. Unfortunately, they got quite a lot of 10s to 20ths, which is what really let their points down, because that's where you've invested quite a lot of time coming into the games and you just don't get into that upper placement threshold. They also just didn't really get the elims they were looking for. They either had that first big game and then things kind of came a bit unstuck. But again, when I was talking about, you know, MMB and how they're going to go in set lobbies, this is a team that most people know is going to perform in a set lobby. Everyone's been asking, is it a good idea to have 2 IGLs on one team? And again, if you don't know, in-game leaders, pretty much the 2 smart players that lead the team, because they're referring to Mr. Savage and Tayson being 2 of the most well-known IGLs and leaders of their teams on the same team. And my answer is always, why do you want stupid teammates? I know it sounds dumb, but no one's going to try and tell me that Tayson and Mr. Savage don't have the mechanics to be able to frag out anyway. So if you've got a teammate who's smart and can also frag, that's just a match made in heaven. And both these players have so much experience, arguably almost more than anyone else in EU when it comes to stacked set lobbies. So that's where I'm really expecting this team to perform. And when you think about it, with the format and with the prize pool right now, Cash Cups just don't matter that much. They're exciting, they're fun to watch, it's cool to see how the teams match up, but dropping 35 and 40 elimination games and whether you can do that better than someone else doesn't have a lot of relevancy when $1.3 million is going to be given out in the FNCS Grand Finals. So it's how can you play in set lobbies? How do you play stacked lobbies? And that's when you need to perform. So I do have high expectations for this team. I think this performance was good enough. I don't think it's enough to make them split over. There is a lot of questions kind of, you know, swirling around about Tayson. Why is it so hard for him to stick with the team? Why does he keep leaving everyone or they're leaving him? Does he have a bit of an ego, or is it just because he's that good he wants to play with the best? So I hope this performance wasn't so weak that he's considering leaving them, because at this point, I don't know who else Tayson can go with. All right, moving on to the NA Cash Cup. I'm not done talking about EU though. An hour into this tournament, you had 2 EU teams in first and second, and an NA West team in third. On the back of Hen, Sebi, and Chapix, as well as Wolfiez, CRR, and Aqua, both dropping 40 plus elimination wins in their first games, they jumped up massively on the leaderboard. NA started to bring it a little bit back, but with an hour to go in the Cash Cup, you had 4 of the top 10 teams being EU, and you still had Hen, Sebi, and Chapix, as well as Pink, Ghosty, and Michael in first and second. So with an hour to go, 2 EU teams still in the top 3. NA ended up bringing it back though. It ended up going to Crumbler, Nexi, and Mars. And again, a lot of people surprised by this. There's still that mentality that Mars is just an arena player. He doesn't scrim, but he's popping off in tournaments. They got 215 points, just beating out Saf, Booger, and Stretch, who ended up coming in second on 213. So clearly performing really, really well without Zayt, still performing insanely well. You did still have 2 EU teams in the top 5 though. Again, Pink, Ghosty, and Michael, and then Hen, Sebi, and Chapix ended up coming 4th and 5th overall in the NA East Cash Cup. Moving on to NA West, this was one of the most dominant performances we've seen from any team in a Cash Cup, and they had Clix on their team playing from NA East. And if you think, oh, if you looked at the leaderboard, they ended up winning by 10 points, but let me talk to you about just how dominant this performance was. So Clix, Reet, and Wavy Jacob ended up winning it by 10 points over Arkram, Rex, and Epic Whale. Obviously, arguably the best trio in NA West. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Arkram was playing on controller, but I don't think that excuse matters. Arkram has chosen to play on controller now. That's his chosen input. You can't then say in a trio Cash Cup, oh, I was playing on controller, because Clix, Reet, and Wavy Jacob going into the final games had such a massive lead that in the last game, with 17 minutes till lobbies closed, they only got 1 point. They got a 1 elimination 19th because Reet was logged out of his account and then had his Fortnite account deactivated. So with 17 minutes to go, they were finished on 216 points, and they only had 7 games played. They could have finished that game and then played an entire another game after that, and they still won by 10 points. And it's on the back of games like their first game where they got a 39 elimination win. Then they got a 0 elim 28th, but again, they're out of the game quickly. Then a 16 elim second, a 12 elim win, a 24 elim win, a 9 elim second, and then that 1 elim 19th. That is such a ridiculous match history in a Cash Cup that I know it's NA West, but had the best of the best from NA East and a few EU pros in there playing as well. But again, let's talk about the Reet situation now. What happened to Reet's account?
My game just kicked me out.
What?
I just got logged out. Oh, hello?
Did it say someone logged in your account?
I successfully logged out. Bro, what the fuck?
You have to... Is your career off?
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Go to the last thing.
Go to last thing and then turn career off.
Yeah, show career leaderboard.
If you're confused about what Wavy Jacob and Clix are talking about there at the end on show career leaderboards, it's something that came out recently a few days ago that Calc exposed, and Fortnite ended up actually making a statement about it. So Calc and a bunch of pros believed that if you had show career leaderboard on, that it meant players could then go through Fortnite Tracker to find your email, then use that email to spam it with requests to get the password changed, which would then log you out of the game. So a whole bunch of pros started going and changing this setting. It's what happened to Clix in the middle of his stream when he was playing, but then Fortnite ended up making a statement saying that this wasn't true, that this doesn't cause it, you don't need to worry. So Calc is still not really convinced on Twitter. He was saying that that's not true. They're actually lying about it. I'm not going into too much detail because I actually don't understand the situation. If Fortnite says that's not what causes it, I have to trust that it just isn't, because if they had a major security breach like that, I believe they would have already come up with a solution. So I think the Reet situation is maybe not related. Reet did get in contact with Sundown. He came and talked to me. He tried to talk to anyone in the community that might be able to help. Sundown ended up getting involved, who of course works for Epic Games, and it looks like everything was fixed. Reet didn't really say anything else on the matter. He logged back in, he was able to play, he was in my stream, and he said, it's all fixed now, stupid kids. So I don't really know exactly what caused him to lose access to his account or why it said it was deactivated, because when I was messaging Reet, he thought his whole account got deleted, because it wasn't just saying the password was wrong, it said the account is no longer active. The only concern is this is the second major person who was still playing with Clix at the time who's now had a security breach on their account that almost lost them an entire tournament. It's just lucky they were so far ahead that even with this, it didn't matter and they were still able to perform. Now, I didn't talk about this a few days ago because obviously I didn't want to bring attention to a potential security breach, but if Epic says conclusively and made a statement saying that this isn't a security breach, this doesn't work, then I don't feel so bad talking about it because it looks like they're safe. But that makes me even more concerned because what happened to Reet's account then? We still don't know why he lost it. I'm just going to have to assume that maybe Reet had his email somewhere, maybe someone figured out his password, I don't know. We got no statement, so let's just assume that it was a once-off situation and it wasn't a breach that other people can abuse. It just looks like this is going to be another reason for why pros aren't going to want to stream their tournaments. If they're going to be targeted with these security breaches because of the attention they're getting while playing, because this has happened to Clix and now Reet, and Reet was playing with Clix at the time, obviously it's to get attention and to do with viewership and just, you know, like most kids do, same with stream sniping, they just want attention whether it be negative or positive. They don't care that they're potentially costing someone thousands of dollars and making them lose tournaments, they just want the attention. So all I can see is more and more pros are going to be less inclined to stream and just don't want to bring attention to anything that happens like this. Alright guys, that does it for another video. Please chuck a like on it if you made it this far. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think MMB is going to pop off in grand finals? Do you think they are going to be a dominant set lobby team? If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for all your support. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.